We are rolling. Sorry.
Brilliant. Thank you. No,
straight over you first.
Hey, shut up. I want to be Colin.
Do that again. Do it again. I love it.
Fucking hell, one job.
I know, yeah.
We are rolling.
Welcome one and all to Danger Recall, the first in our bonus episodes. Can I get a cheer?
Yeah, you can get
amazing. Thank you so much. So this is the show where we talk about our show, the Danger Club podcast. We're going to deep dive on episodes all the way back. We're going all the way back to episode 1, and we're going to talk about it. You can listen along to these episodes, and we're going to talk about all the inside jokes, how we felt on the day of the record, how we felt, how we think that record went. This is Danger Recall. My name's Colin. I'm going to be your host. I'm going to kind of host most of these Danger Recall episodes. Sometimes it might go to someone else, one of the other podcast members that are going to, they're going to chip in and maybe host a show. But what we're going to do in these episodes is we're going to take 2, maybe 3 episodes of the Danger Club podcast, and we are going to summarize them. We're going to talk about them. We're going to deep dive on all of them. All right. Today's episode, we are going to talk about episodes 1 and 2, and my guests today are the lovely Dan Thompson. Can we say hello?
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be not sitting in the main chair again. This is great.
Mate, you're still in the main chair. Do you know what I mean? And we have the wonderful James Lockhart. How you doing, James?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah, I thought you were going to introduce someone else for a moment there. I was like, wait up. It's someone sitting behind me.
Who are you talking about, mate? What's going on? Yeah, so how you feeling today, boys?
Yeah, good. I've been really looking forward to this because I think like a lot of Dangerlings, I've been meaning to do a sort of re-listen because we're hitting some big numbers now in terms of episodes, and it's really fun. It's been really fun to go back and listen to the old episodes again, and the old game.
Yeah, we just thought the best thing to do would be to just talk about our own podcast.
My favorite thing to do.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you've ever, because the thing is we're such fans of the show ourselves. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but we do create it, but then we listen back every time it comes out, every week it comes out. Even though I edit these podcasts, I listen to them every week when they come out, and I'm surprised at things because sometimes I edit them like 6 weeks before, and then they come out and I'm like, wow, I forgot that happened. So to go back to the start and listen is so interesting. Do you agree with that?
I thought I knew this show better than anyone else, because I re-listen to episodes all the time for plot stuff,
right?
And even listening to the few episodes that we're going to talk about today and in the next few weeks, there was stuff in these that I had completely forgotten about, that I just had no idea had happened. Which is natural. I mean, it's 100 episodes. Nobody can retain that much information of stuff that's in there. But it's nice to go back and be surprised by little things that are in there, and little things that have paid off later on as well, further down the road. Like, there's so many seeds in the early episodes I love.
Yeah.
Now, gradually, what we're going to do, Dangerlings, is when you listen along to these, we're going to sort of tell you when this episode's going to come out. So, you're obviously going to know when episode 7 and 8 or whatever, we're going to do the deep dive on those episodes. So what we're going to do is we're going to let you know, and you can re-listen to those episodes before these episodes of this podcast come out. Do you see what I mean? I know we're talking about lots of episodes. That's going to get confusing for us and for you, but hopefully you get the idea, and you can listen along, and you can send us any questions that you think. You can tell us about your funny bits, what made you laugh, what you liked, what you thought the characters, how they reacted, and all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be really interactive. That's going to be cool. All right, so let's go into, first up, we're going to talk about episode 1, Token Resistance. And every week we're going to have a summary of our episode. So Daniel Thompson is going to give you a summary of episode 1 of the Danger Club podcast, Token Resistance. Go ahead, Dan.
So Token Resistance, the first episode of the Danger Club podcast, it begins in a small fishing town called Ilsurian, where a carnival called the Umbra Carnival has arrived in order to put on a show. surrounding the Umbra Carnival, there's this thing called the Winding Market, which are little traders who follow the carnival around and set up tents on the outskirts of it, trying to grab a bit of business of people who come by it. And that little Winding Market has drawn a group of different people from different places. We've got a half-orc who is on the run from something and has joined a chorus line, some dancing girls in the Winding Market, and is performing there. We've got some creepy creature dressed in rags and shrouds who is hiding from something and has decided to stop off and see what was going on with all the bright lights. We have got a fortune teller from the local town who has come and set up a tent in there to try and make a little bit of money, but unfortunately he's recently been robbed. And arriving in it, we have got a dwarf who's just been sacked from his job as a dock worker, and we've got a half elf. He walks the docks.
A dog walker.
Do you know what? I can see Fulton as a dock walker. Yeah, just sort of like, just walking the docks. That's
going to be canon now. And we've got a half elf who has just arrived in the town and has been spending a bit of time in the local temple. The dwarf and the half-elf turn up to a beer tent, hoping to meet this wizard, this fortune teller called Velda, because Velda has put out an advert offering work to people who can stop his gold from being stolen. So Fulton and Em, the dwarf and the half-elf, arrive, but the gold's already been stolen. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to get talking to the horrible, weird, shroudy creature that turns out is called nothing at this point, because we don't get a name out of Drummond for the character for the first one. They get talking, then they watch a performance by the half-orc, who again doesn't give their name, introduce themselves as Kara Bonhara, or Kara Bonara. Sorry, I always pronounce it wrong. They watch the performance, they all get together, they all almost fight one another, and then Travis, the carnival barker, comes along from the main carnival offering drinks tokens to anybody who wants to come to the main carnival itself. So this group, having flushed everyone out of the beer tent through their antics, follow Travis to the main carnival, try to get some drinks. The drinks tokens, it turns out, only get them alcoholic yak's milk, and so they kick off, they kidnap Travis, and they almost turn the entire carnival against them, and it ends with the sound that a dragon has attacked the carnival.
All right, episode 1, the Phantom, I don't know what we're going to call that, but you know what I mean. Token Resistance, yeah, what do we remember from this record?
Well, it's funny because listening back, obviously we've got the bit right at the beginning where it's sort of like, and we're live. And then there's this silence. And it really reminded me that actually how nervous we all were, because none of us had recorded a podcast before, and we're all in your little flat. I was really there again, sort of in in the space we originally sort of recorded in, and everyone's like, oh, what do we say?
What do we do?
As you now know, Dangerlings, we are nothing if not verbose. So that was a sort of a lovely memory. But I have to say, another thing that struck me was just, I'm sure some adventuring parties get together and they're really friendly and they really get on well. We were so aggressive towards each other. It's so funny. I think you and Fulton had a bit of a thing going on. But yeah, the rest of us were just sort of like, oh, you're right.
Yeah, it was quite funny, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was just
fighting all straight away. What do you remember from the actual? I mean, why did we get into this, Dan? I know you talked about this in the intro on episode 1 anyway, but do you remember why we actually jumped in and started recording a podcast?
Yeah, I'd been interested in podcasts for a while. This is the third podcast that I've made. I had a show called Bad Sandwich, which was a comedy podcast, which is still on iTunes, which ran for about 6 episodes. And I did me and Ross did a wrestling podcast for about a year called Vintage
Dan, we're not
Spoon.
Here to plug your other podcast, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Best we don't plug those other podcasts.
Yeah, plug Bad Sandwich. That's really good. Don't go and listen to Vintage Spoon. That's terrible. But I mostly was doing those to kind of get my head around how they worked. But there'd been a thing that I'd never really thought of doing a role-playing podcast, because we played role-playing games as a group for years, and I played them since I was a kid. But I'd never heard a good role-playing podcast until quite recently from when we did the show. Like none of them quite clicked. There've been a lot of them and I've been like, and I genuinely thought maybe it's something that doesn't translate because it's something that is so personal to the group that is around the table that maybe it's something you can't turn into something that is entertaining. Turns out, whoa boy, I was wrong. They blew up massively in the last couple of years. And like I watched Critical Role and then Glass Cannon, which is no secret, is kind of was a big inspiration for wanting to do this because it was a group of friends who were very much like us and had a very similar dynamic. And so that got me thinking, okay, that should be doable. And then we're sitting in a pub and we've got people coming to the pub to come and watch us play, like just coming and sitting at the table and wanting to hang out, not even wanting to play.
Just random people, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're just coming up, so can I listen in for a little while? And we're like, yeah, sure. Well,
yeah. I think the point that I realized that there was something different about what we were doing was we were playing at the Secret Weapon. We were playing Feast of Ravenmoor, which is one of the best modules that you can get for Pathfinder. And it pains me that we can't really do it on the podcast because we've already played it, but it's an amazing module. We were playing that, and there was another group next to us playing some fantasy role-playing game. I can't remember which system, but I listened in on their table and I could hear one of their players say, hey, we turn to the dragon and we say, no, you will not keep the treasure. We will protect this town. And I looked back to our table and Scott was going, no, we're going to go back to that creepy hill village. You're going to make them give us all their drugs. And I was like, we're not the same as these, are we? We are. We're the same as what people's actual games are. You know, we're not the same as what people think these RPG games are. So we were I was like, we could do this. It'll be really different. We just met you, Colin. And so we're like...
Well, I mean, we'd been friends for years, but I'd just started playing RPG with you. And you were like, oh, yeah, we were thinking about doing a podcast. And I was like, I've got recording equipment, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, that was where it went from there, didn't it? And then all of a sudden we're sitting around one microphone sort of in my living room trying to record it. I know we said it's kitchen, but it was my living room at the time. And we just sat around this microphone. I remember that day, actually, and I think I've mentioned this before, but what happened is we set all the sound and we did like a test on it. And then 2 minutes before we started recording, I decided to extend the table so Drum had a little bit more room. But obviously what happened with that is Drum was further away from our microphone. So we had to do a lot of post-production on trying to make Drum, being able to hear him, basically. So we made mistakes, Dangerlings, is what we're trying to say.
I mean, that's not often a problem. To be honest, no. That's probably low down there. Yeah. Can Drum be heard? Oh yes. It
was weird because sometimes Drum goes from being like really fucking loud, and then all of a sudden he like whispers and goes, "Oh yes, I want to know what is going on." And it was when he was whispering, we just completely lost him. So I did find a little bit of kit. If anyone wants to know about that, I will tell you how to adjust your sound. But you can email me separately, even though I'm not going to put my email out here. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about now is we're going to go through a deep dive of episode 1, Token Resistance, and we're going to talk about things that we remember. I hope you've made notes, gentlemen.
So many notes.
Yeah,
so many notes.
So many notes. They're all up here.
Mental notes. James just pointed to his head. This is a podcast, James. Remember, we're not streaming.
I know, but they know what I mean.
Okay. You could be up here. It could be like up on the shelf. It could be, I don't know. They could be talking.
I was pointing to my elbow, actually, listeners. So that's where I store my notes. Just right there.
Just write them on my elbow. Yeah.
There we go. Well, it's very COVID friendly.
All right, so we start off in a beer tent. The team will meet there. We're not all there at the start. At the beginning, we've got Velda sitting at the bar and Shania sort of sitting on the other side of the bar. There's a couple of other people in there. But then Fulton and Em enter this beer tent and they sort of walk over and say hello at some point. And then, you get Caragor come out on stage. So we're going to go through the process of how everyone sort of introduces themselves in the order and stuff. We just want to say we're going to try and track things as we go through these episodes as well. And this is the first time we ask you to tweet us. But we don't say tweet us. We say we look forward to your tweets. Very interesting, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Anything else from those first kind of introductions?
Yeah, I think, because I think the tweeters came later when it was actually about people who were going to get a list and in a line and like maybe punch us. It was a contentious thing. It became a sort of counter tweet, wasn't it? Like tweet us. enemy of the state.
As we go along, I think we're going to try and keep a list of those.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because obviously, we were saying about how you can't possibly remember all the details that were going on and everything that happened. Like Steampunk Death was, I don't think that was one of those defining things. Are we not there yet?
We're coming to that. Yeah. So at 11:20, we have a Cheers reference. Someone, I think it's Scott again. He is the first time that he does a parody of a song, and he sings "Where Everybody Knows Your Name." So if you don't know what Cheers is, Cheers was a massive sitcom back in the late 80s. Yeah.
Mid, really. It was quite early.
Mid, actually, yeah.
So sort of mid to early 90s, I think.
It's a very well written show, spin-off of Frasier. So if you don't know what Frasier is, go and look that up as well. 12:10. We talk about something.
Frasier is a spin-off of Cheers.
What's wrong?
Frasier is a spin-off of Cheers. What are you talking about?
It's a spin-off of Cheers.
Yeah, Cheers is not a spin-off of Frasier.
I think
unbelievable.
Oh, is that what I said? I am so sorry, Dangerlings. My bad.
Yeah.
Right, 12:40. Drum starts coming in with his description, and Steampunk Death is a support act. Yeah, that was a major thing there. 15 minutes. We have Velda explaining what Velda looks like. Well, we have James explaining what Velda looks like with a fox, with Jin the fox. 16:50. We have the first drink bought for another person. So the Danger Club were quite frivolous back in the day. We started buying things for people. 17:45, we've got the listing of the meats from Fulton and description straight after of M's description. And Scott jumps in and starts laughing as soon as I say so. I was sitting right next to Scott and I remember him just jumping and laughing his ass off because I was just trying to... He said, "Oh, you're getting all theatrical." And then 2015, we have the first drum boom. We were talking about when drum gets very loud and very soft. Drum has his first, "You stay away from me," when he's talking.
God, that was so loud.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah, it was incredibly Shania though.
And we didn't have headphones then, but that still blew my eardrums out because Drum was sitting next to us.
Yeah. So I think by this point, everyone's kind of introduced themselves and described themselves. At 21:45, apart from Caragor, he comes in and he has his first improvisation as Caragor and another parody song. So actually, it's his second parody song. I got this wrong on my notes, where he does "Hey Mumbo," which was a song, I believe, from the 60s. I'm not sure who it's by. Do you know, Dan?
I don't know who it's by. I was just going to say this is fascinating, I think, because it's the first and only time that Scott has ever been unprepared for a parody song, like that it's jumped out at him and he's just done it off the top of his head. It's Ross always likes to point out when we're doing live records that during a section, if Scott goes quiet for a while, you can see his lips moving and you can see that he's just workshopping a song in his head to bring out later on. And then this one was because there was crossed wires over what he thought the Winding Market was when we did Backstory. He thought it was like a big show and that he was going to be coming out in like a chorus line with loads of dancing girls and things. And actually it's some little fringe venue in a thing and he's on his own. And so when he came out, I don't think he had an act. And so this was just, I think, off the top of his head coming up with this song. And he came with this amazing Hey Mambo thing. It was
so great, wasn't it, at that moment? Yeah, just to see him working off the top of his head. And I think he even mentions it in the episode where he's like, "I've got seconds to come up with an improvisation." It's really funny. Yeah. At 23:30, we have our first dice roll. Woo! I know, which I love. I love the fact that our first dice roll in our podcast was for a performance in a beer tent. Yeah. So we're about halfway through the episode right now. Any thoughts on the first half?
You can hear so many cans and bottles opening during this episode because we went straight from playing in our local pub to making a podcast, and it never occurred to us in between that the thing we should probably cut out when we did that was drinking while we record. So we all turned up with just bags of booze and we just spent the whole episode, and through the whole episode you can just hear cans cracking open, bottles opening. Like we were, by the time we got to episode 3, because I think we did all 3 of those together, like we were feeling it.
Yeah,
certainly
really
some of us.
Yeah.
It's just stuff we would never do now. Well, drum would still do now, but none of the rest of us would ever do now.
There's a little bit of kind of Dutch courage just to get in there, because we're all very experienced role players. Like Dan said, we've been role playing for years, but still, doing the podcast, we're like, it's gonna, grease the wheels of creativity and things like that. And I think in a funny way, because actually a lot of the characters are drinking in the episode, so it weirdly works quite well, because obviously MZ and Fulton have been drinking for a week, and Velda's been drinking, and God knows what Shania's been drinking, and then sort of got coming. There was a lot of. It started in a beer tent, so
as actors,
it worked in our favours.
As actors, we thought it'd be really good to sort of get drunk as our characters, but it wasn't the best idea. I don't. But it came out quite well.
I noticed it last week when we were recording episode 101, I think, or two. It might have been probably a bit later, 103 or something, and we'd just been out to get lunch and got drinks and come back, and just like soft drinks. And James, I remember you sitting there with a can of Coke for the thing, and about to open it, and then stopping because we were recording, and just kind of just looking around the room and just waiting for a moment when we could do an easy cut to kind of quietly open it away from the microphone. And I was like, oh, we've come along, haven't we, from when we used to just open the cans into the mic.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it was.
Going back to what we were doing, about 36:30, we have the carnival sound that comes in. Now, I don't know about you, but that's one of my favourite bits of audio that slips into the background. As the editor, I really love the carnival sound, and we use it in later episodes. We're going to get to those, but there's some flashbacks in later episodes, and we go back to the Umbra Carnival, and I get to put that in the background again, and I just remember thinking, that's so nice. And I was slipping through all these sound effects, but I think the carnival is actually one of my favourites. I don't know about you. I've got 37:11. The first beer is being popped by one of the actors. I don't know who it was, but it was around the halfway mark. But you are right, Dan. Yeah. Now at 44:35, there is a reference. Keep the change, you filthy animal. This is a reference to a scene in Home Alone, which is a film, if you've never watched it, with what's his name? Macaulay Culkin. Thank you very much, James. Yeah, it's a Christmas film. It was really fun. Tim Curry's in the second one, not in the first one. But and John Candy's in it as well. But it's a film within a film called Angels with Filthy Souls, which is a play upon Angels with Dirty Faces, starring James Cagney. In this film, the actor, I don't know who the actor is in Angels with Filthy Souls, which is a fake film within a film, he shoots someone and he says, "Keep the change, you filthy animal." So there we go. That's what that reference means.
That's not a real movie then, the one that he's watching in Home Alone.
No, it's not.
Brilliant.
I thought it was, but it's not. So there you go. Little deep dive there. We're learning something as we go. This is what we're going to do on this podcast. Yeah, we're going to find all this out. So at 44:50, we get the stuffed toy lion.
Oh, yeah, the king of the carnival.
Yeah. I forgot that it was a stuffed toy.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, later on, I thought it was like a proper helmet or something, but it's not.
No. I remember that. It was just a stuffed toy. So he tore the head off.
This is the first. This is the first encounter with the actual module. This is the first. So we're playing We're playing Murder's Mark by Jim Groves, which was we looked at all of the first level 1 adventures, and I picked this one in the carnival because I thought that sounds like it's going to suit us. It's got lots of performy stuff. Everyone likes. All the guys are going to instantly get on with circus folk because they're performers. I was very wrong about that, but it starts, the module in this doesn't open the beer tent. It opens with everyone having been given a flyer for the show, and they're just walking around the carnival having a look at everything that's there. And there's all these little carnival games that they can play, and the idea is you just play the carnival games and they're little skill checks and you can do them. And that's one of the ones that we did. The one I kept trying to direct you to was the lovely Madam Mask with which Travis runs. and it turns out because Ica is involved in that, and so it's actually there's actually plot around that if you go and do that game. And
so we could have met Ica in episode 1.
Yeah, you could have met the Sphinx in episode 1. You could have. You can go and look at the Sphinx.
It's in my notes, Dan. It's in my notes that you keep trying to direct us that way, but we don't go to it. It's fantastic.
Tell you what though, in our defense, and I don't know how anyone else who role plays feels about this, listening back, you're removed from the action somewhat, and it's quite clear that Travis is steering us towards those things. But in the chaos of playing, I just passed us by. We're like, cool, we'll make our own destiny. We'll find our own way. And
plus the nerves and the fact that we're all drinking.
Plus also Carnival. I mean, it brings up such a colourful image. It's like, I want to go and throw a stone at some plates or something.
Kind of go and hook the ducks.
Hook the ducks.
There's a reference to poi. We're saying at a festival, there's always someone doing poi. If you've never been to a festival before, someone is always there doing poi somewhere, and no one gives them any attention, but yet they still do it. So good on you, poi people.
Big
Keep
up
on
poi.
going. Yeah, big up poi.
Tweet us poi.
Now we get the crown as well here, and I didn't realize this, but it's a paper crown.
Yep. Level 1, man.
He gets this crown and he wears this crown for like 50 episodes or something. Like, we're in the rain, we get into fights. There's no way this paper crown lasted.
No, exactly. I was actually surprised because I thought the crown he made it himself out of the lion's head. And then it was like, oh, you get a crown as well. I was like, oh, I forgot about that. It actually gets a crown as well.
It gives you, I think we mentioned, it actually gives you a bonus to diplomacy checks when dealing with carnies, because they think you're great because you won this carnival thing. It's like, that's such a lovely little reward.
At 4612, we have the first King of the Carnival reference, which is amazing. That comes back quite a lot. And then we get the Jerizana set time. This is going into your notes, Dan, about you trying to steer us to the right place, Jerizana, but we don't go there. 4947, Shania threatens the guy who is critical of Karagor. Is this the first kind of moment where Karagor, that thing that's going on with them two? Who knows? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely, though.
Do you think that's where it starts?
Well, because after that, she's like, oh, yes, I was really moved by what I saw up there. I was moved in ways I saw. I couldn't tell. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that came in so early. Like, I thought at least it was a few episodes for that. No, episode 1.
But the thing that really surprises me with Shania in the early ones with that thing is that actually it's Velda that she's really interested in the early episodes. Like, she's fascinated by Velda early on. She just keeps wanting to have like private conversations because they've both got the strange markings on them. Which she should know, because she drew her own markings on herself, whereas Velda's it's because he's a sylph. So that should be easy. But no, she's really into Velda early on, and Velda does not care for that attention.
Well, it's more because I tried to, as a sort of role-playing thing, think about how he would have been approached by people. And obviously he's a naff fortune teller. And I kind of thought, this is a guy who's probably had a lot of questions about it. It's like, oh, look at your markings. Oh, look at that. He'd be like, yeah. Sort of like, thanks very much. And that's why his attitude is quite offish, but maybe a bit too offish. I did think, actually, as a little insight, as a player when I was role playing, I got past that bit and I was like, maybe I did shut that down a little bit. I should have indulged that a bit further. I think it works out later on, but it's obviously now we know very Velda, but that was something that crossed my mind when we were there recording the episode. It'd been like, probably been a bit too hard.
We have our first reference to yak's milk. Now, yak's milk, I don't know if you know this, but when a calf is born, it's actually pink. Yak's milk, and the reason? Do you know the reason why calf milk is? It's not obviously the milk, not from the calf; it's from the mother. But do you know why it's pink?
It's got blood in it.
It's true. It's because it's tinted with blood. As the calves get older, the milk turns creamy white. But for the first couple of months or so, the yak's milk is pink because of the blood. Yeah.
Now, I remember, because there's this big sort of anti-milk thing going on quite a little while ago. And apparently they do, like, milk can come out pink. And they have to change it white, apparently, because that's why when they filter it and do all that sort of stuff with it, they kind of get rid of that stuff out of cow's milk.
Yeah, man. I don't know why people still drink cow's milk, to be honest. But
I mean, I have
salty strawberry milk.
I have two questions, which I am probably the best person to answer these, but I'm going to ask them nonetheless. Can you ferment milk? And
yes,
where on earth in southern Varizia were they finding yaks? Because that is like temperate land. They are not on the steppe or anything there. So God knows how long that milk was sitting around for.
There was a lot of yes-anding. If you don't know about this, when you improvise in any sort of respect, you have to sort of go yes and, so you don't stop the flow of the improvisation. That's how you keep improvising. So you don't just shut someone down and say no, you just go, okay, right, what's next? And there's a lot of that in this episode and in the Danger Club podcast in general. We've got a come dine with me reference a little bit later on. James, can you explain what come dine with me is?
Yes, Come Dine With Me I think still runs. It's a popular television show where three strangers all throw a dinner party for each other in order. So one throws a dinner party, then another, and there are 3 courses. There's a dress code, and they lay on entertainment, and then they all secretly post the show. They give ratings on each other's dinner parties, and then the winner wins £1,000.
One is crowned the winner. That's correct. And also Scott at the time sings "Come Die With Me" or something to the tune of "Come Fly With Me," which is obviously a big hit by Sinatra. At 1 hour, we have our first natural one of the podcast. At 102, we still don't go and see Gerizana. 103, the first natural 20. So, and they're both from Scott, which is weird. So he rolls a natural 1, then he rolls a natural 20. And then 108, we have the first grab of Travis. I think we grab Travis quite a lot during these next few episodes. But that's the first one where we grab him. And then right at the end, there is the shout of Dragon!
Have I said why he's called Travis?
No.
He's the very first note that I made for the show when we were like, we're going to play Murder's Mark. What should we do? And normally what I'll do is I'll just open loads of tabs on a web browser and just leave them open of stuff that I want to come back to on it. And the very first tab that opened was a biography of Travis Barker from Blink-182. And I was like, he's a Barker. Let's call him Travis. He's Travis the Barker. There we go. There's a joke which we'll never come back to.
That's a good reference.
I did like the fact that we grabbed him so many times. His accent changed because he's got a definitely different voice from when he first came in. I was like, I even thought, oh, that's not Travis. And then by the end of the episode, it's like, there's Travis.
You know what? In that episode, certainly in 2/3 of that episode, not one NPC has the same accent that they have later on in the show. The worst one is Fez, the barman who runs the beer tent, who changes accent mid-scene. They're all the Carney folk are Irish in the first one. There's loads of like Terry Wogan impressions for loads of the characters. I just didn't have an idea of what these guys sounded like until I came up with, it was when I hit on the thing of fellas for Travis, that he calls people fellas, and I was like, okay, cool, that's his thing. We keep coming back to that, and that will kind of that will give him a sort of consistent thing.
If you don't know who Terry Wogan is, we're going to have to do a deep dive on this episode in about a year. So
we talked a bit about the 1s and 20s thing. Is this the episode where I talked about why 1s and 20s are so great in role playing?
Yeah, you did mention it. You did mention it, which is great actually.
I think it's a really important thing, and it's something that's watered down a little bit in second edition with the whole you can get a crit if you get 10 over the target and things. But it's a lot of people focus on the idea that if you get a 20, you can do something amazing. You can be Luke Skywalker shooting the torpedo into the Death Star and it blows up, and that's great. But I'm always really fascinated by the other side of it. I'm fascinated by the natural 1, and it's not just because it's funny when things go wrong. I really like this idea that it's possible to do everything right and still lose. And I think I just found that really interesting. And it crosses over into so many ideas of life as well. And certainly I'm sure it's something that we've been familiar with now. It was very familiar to me at the time. I can't remember if I've talked about this on the show before or not, but I've got multiple sclerosis. And when we did the first episode of this, it was not that long after I'd been diagnosed with it. And so I was going through all of this kind of headspace of having been diagnosed with this massive thing, having done none of the stuff that they say causes it, having done all this. And so this idea that you can do absolutely everything right, and then just one day you just still get dealt, or you still roll a 1, and then you move on from that. And then it's how you deal with that. It's how you deal with the consequences that the world gives you. And I found that really fascinating. I find that idea that, you don't just put down, you don't just put your stats right and everything goes well. Sometimes something goes wrong, and it's about how you and your friends cope with that. And that was kind of, at the time, was something that was really important to me. And it's kind of carried on through that. And I know it's mostly just a sort of comedic thing, but I think that to me is one of the most important things about role-playing games. It's one of the things that I really connect to on that.
Yeah. Nice.
Amen.
And it is a good life lesson, isn't it? Because sometimes, life does deal you a 1. Sometimes you get the 20s, but a lot of the time you can just do everything right, and you have to just deal with it. You have to go, okay, well, that's life. I've rolled a 1 now. What do I do? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, very interesting, that, and thank you for that.
We fight a dragon.
That's it. Episode 1, token resistance.
Is that in the bag?
That's in the bag.
Oh.
So do you know what, team? We've done token resistance, but actually I think we went really deep on that one, and we had a lot of information there. So actually, why don't we? This will be the first episode. That episode 1 was episode 1.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But episode 2 of this, hopefully, we'll get through 2 and 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is going to be really fun to keep a tab on, isn't it? So thank you so much. Tune in next week. Go and give us a tweet, a like, a subscribe, a review. If you haven't done that yet, go and give us a review. That's the only way this podcast is going to grow. Thank you very much, Dangerlings. Goodbye. Bye. Bye.